Good evening, it's 5:15, time for our bi-monthly meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you for coming. We are, the roll call will show that we have two members of the council gone, Kyle Bauer and Jason Atherton. We also have our city manager is also gone. He was planning to be here, but his appendix said otherwise.
Oh, no.
So he had to have emergency surgery, but he's doing very well. And we're glad to hear that. So we'll go on to historic. The first item on the agenda is Historic Preservation Commission update. And Vicki, do you have some things to mention? Thank you.
Our projects this year included working on the cemetery fence, which didn't happen. The soda blasting company was so busy and there was so much rain that we didn't get anything done on the metal part of the fence, but that's on our agenda for next year again. We're going to get that done. We also prepared a donor board for the band shell project, and we actually made two of them, one to put into the rec center and one to put into the large shelter house at Graham Park. But before we put them up, we're going to have to amend them because we got 28 more donations in June. And so we're going to have to do a little adjusting on them to get those names on there. We continue to clean tombstones in the cemetery. We attended ongoing required training. The National Alliance of Preservation Commissions has webinars. We went to the evolution and legacy of roadside architecture and neon signage, and deconstruction versus demolition, protecting heritage and the environment. We also continue to maintain the cemetery museum, and we compiled a lot of historic information for businesses in town that were celebrating their 70th and 75th anniversaries. Also got some information for a family called the Reese family, and they actually came to the cemetery this summer to dedicate a gravestone for some of their ancestors. One of their ancestors owned the 10 acres that's the middle of the cemetery. It was originally the Reese Gardens in there, and he sold that in 1933 to the city to expand the cemetery. So that was fun. Next year, just a little preview of a couple things that we're going to do is we're going to try to finish up the rest of the historic plaques on the downtown businesses. The ones on East First Street we couldn't put up because of the library construction at that time. And we also need to try to convince Fridley to let us put up the rest of them along on that part of the Fifth Street there. And we also are talking about doing a downtown character walk around the businesses to let people know about the history of some of our downtown businesses and the people that were involved in it. So that's what we've been up to.
Great.
Any questions?
What time of year are you thinking about doing that?
We're going to work with the Chamber of Commerce, I think, so we're hoping maybe like fall.
Okay.
We'll see, yeah.
I don't expect you to know this, it's not a test, but do you know how many acres the cemetery is altogether now? Do you have any idea?
Originally it was 10 acres, then they added another 12 acres, I think, for the Catholic cemetery parts, and the 10 in the middle, so it's somewhere around 40 acres.
Okay.
49 acres when they add the.
Bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah, it's a pretty good size.
Sure is.
Figured 2 seconds.
Is that right? Okay. Channel us know.
39 acres.
Well, there you go.
Pretty close.
We'll say you passed. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
updating us. All right, we have some budget fiscal year 2027 outside agency funding requests. Laura, do you want to introduce them? I can.
Go ahead, the first
Okay.
one is.
Well, the first one will be Elder Bridge Agency on Aging. Someone coming up, and go ahead and state your name.
Yep, and I do have some handouts for you guys
Okay, great.
too. Here, I can go ahead if you guys have you. Yep. So my name is Emily Weaver. I work here in town at Elder Bridge Agency on Aging. I'm the director of Lifelong Links, so I oversee all of the client services for our 29 county service area. For anyone not familiar, our mission is to advocate and support older adults to age in place, coordinate services, and provide them and their caregivers with information and services that will allow them to remain at home as long as possible. So in 2025, Elder Bridge served 189 residents of the town of Carroll. While the need for services continues to grow, the state and federal funding continues to decline, making local partnerships more important than ever. Carroll is home to 10,125 residents, and nearly 23% of those are age 65 and older. In addition, Carroll County Community Health Assessment shows that 26% of residents are providing regular unpaid care to a loved one, highlighting how many families rely on the support that agencies like Elder Bridge can give. So here's what the support from Elder Bridge looked like in Carroll in 2025. Like I said, 189 residents were served, and that represents $11,204 in local service value. 26 residents received in-home services totaling $5,810. And the Carroll meal site served 9,065 meals with a $57,653 contribution from Elder Bridge. These services help seniors stay healthy at home, reduce caregiver burnout, and delay and prevent costly institutional care. Elder Bridge is requesting $6,000 from the city of Carroll to continue serving residents of the town. That investment equals 38 cents per resident, age 65 and older, yet it delivers a meaningful return supporting the independence, stability, and community connection. Using the 2025 data, for every dollar invested by the city of Carroll, residents receive roughly $12.44 in services. And that's a return of 1,144%. This request is not about funding an organization, it's about investing in the people of Carroll. For each dollar invested, it will be a direct return into the community, helping seniors age safely at home, supporting family caregivers, and circulating the funds back into the local economy. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do. Are the 9,000 meals,
Yes,
volunteers deliver that?
yes,
So that's over and above the $57,000. You got $57,000 that you've had
Elder
spent for,
Bridge
yeah.
contributed, yep,
and, you know, that's free labor delivering that, so that makes it that much more
Yep.
important. Okay.
yep,
Now, where are those meals prepared at?
St. Anthony.
Emily, you mentioned there were other counties that do you guys serve, or just Elder Bridge in general?
Elder Bridge, okay, so we cover the northwest 29 counties of Iowa. So we have offices in Mason City, Spencer, and Fort Dodge, and Carroll. And then for the Carroll office specifically, we cover Audubon, Guthrie, Greene, Sac, Calhoun, and Crawford, and then Carroll, of course.
And for my benefit and probably anybody else, what type of services do you offer to the people?
Yep, so it's really a wide range, and we would be here all night if I had to go through every single
Give me
thing.
a couple big ones.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So our biggest one is we help set up services in the home. So if somebody is looking for personal care assistance or homemaker assistance, then we assist them or their family in getting those services. And then if they can't pay for those services out of pocket or Medicare won't cover, then we step in and assist in paying for them. Same with the meals, chore services. So when I say chore, I mean snow removal, lawn care, pretty much anything outdoors. We also assist people in paying for as well.
So the services that you provide are free?
Yeah, they're contribution based.
Okay, okay.
Yep, so we do ask for contributions. People pay what they can, whether it be $5 or whether we get a donation in the mail. It's
Where does the money, like you mentioned $57,000 on the meals, and you said that comes from Elder Bridge. Where does Elder Bridge get their money?
state and federal funding.
Okay. And then, so you're covering a number of counties around here,
Yes.
apparently. Are you gonna be asking for contributions from other cities and counties as well then?
So we ask for we do the board of supervisor meetings with every county that we serve. The city is a new thing that we're doing, because of the decrease in state and federal funding. We're having to think a little bit more creatively. So Carroll is actually the first city that I'm going to ask for funding, but I will be going to other cities, yes.
And did you get funding from the county?
Yes.
From Carroll County?
Yes.
Okay.
Has that been an ongoing,
Yes.
Scott,
Yep.
you know,
It's been,
kind of almost a tradition?
Yeah.
the return on investment is incredible. Yeah, we've been doing it for years.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been with the agency for almost 7 years now, and we've done it ever since I've known.
And you help people in other cities other than Carroll in the county?
Yes,
obviously.
of course, yes,
Right.
but I can, if you guys, give to us, then the funding that you give will only go towards our Carroll clients.
And your offices are still over on Court Street?
Yep, we just moved there, it'll be 2 years next October, yep.
Okay. And how many people in the office, just you or two? Okay.
Yep, so I, being the director of Lifelong Links, I do more of the management side of things. And then we have, another gal in the office as well, and she is the one that goes and sees clients and travels and sees all of God's creation driving, so, yep.
You have a full plate, don't you?
Yes, I do, yes, I do.
So this is new for the city. We go into budgets next month, so
Okay.
we'll look at this then.
Sounds great, I appreciate you guys, thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Yep.
Thanks. All right, we'll also hear from the Carroll Children's Museum.
There's just one copy of each one, so. Good evening, City Council. My name is Marcy Herkop, and I serve as the full-time volunteer executive director at the Carroll Children's Museum. This is Amy Shoemaker. She serves as the part-time
No, they're all,
volunteer executive director at the museum. I want to thank you first for letting us come and present to you guys today. Carroll Children's Museum is a hands-on, play-based indoor learning space. We serve local families, schools, childcare centers, and visitors who come to Carroll. We offer an affordable year-round resource for children and caregivers. The museum is a quality of life amenity for young families. It helps attract and retain workforce families and draws visitors into Carroll and to downtown. The museum also acts as an early learning resource for young children. The museum is currently leasing our space, and renting limits our long-term plans and investments into improving the experience and the programming for our community. Our goal is to purchase our current space. This converts rent into ownership, providing stability and sustainability. Owning protects the museum as a permanent community asset. The museum brings increased downtown foot traffic, and we support nearby businesses. Ownership of the museum space keeps resources invested locally through expanded programming and the addition of new exhibits. We began the quiet phase of our capital campaign in October 2025. We have already seen a strong response of support from the community. We have raised $82,800 so far in personal and business commitments to the museum. There are 8 grants that we have already applied for or are in the process of applying for. And we have planned an official public launch of our campaign in April to gain an additional community support. As well as Amy and I will be going to Washington, D.C. in February to talk to all of our representatives during Museums Advocacy Day to hopefully secure more funding, more support from the state and federal level. We are requesting from the City of Carroll to participate in our capital campaign by investing $125,000 towards the purchase of the museum space. This support will help us leverage additional funding to meet our goals, specifically from the IEDA through the Community Attraction and Tourism Grant and through the Iowa West Foundation. Support for Carroll Children's Museum directly aligns with the city's goals of strengthening quality of life, supporting downtown vitality, and attracting and retaining families and workforce. This investment secures a long-term community asset that reflects Carroll's commitment to being a thriving, family-friendly community. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you. We welcome any questions.
what's your dollar amount you're asking? I mean, total, not just Carroll. Us,
Our goal is
Yeah.
400,000 for
400,000.
the whole project.
And also, on the sheet that you gave us, explain what rolling means on this.
They're rolling admissions, and so they don't have a set date to apply, or like application deadlines. And so it's a rolling admission or submission, and so we won't won't give us an actual date of when we'll find out.
Okay. Have you given them some time frame that you'd like to have that done?
Yes, so our goal for the capital campaign is a 12-month goal.
Okay.
And so October 2026 would be our ending goal.
Okay.
Marcy, you're in two separate spaces there, but they're open between. Is that one structure or is it two buildings? Or I guess I didn't pay that close of attention.
It's two spaces, yes, 2 units within the mall.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Are you buying from the same owner?
Yes,
And then, obviously, you're nonprofit. Okay. But you had obviously an increase in numbers this past year over the previous, which is good to see. Is there any way to share what kind of revenue you bring in off of that?
our revenue is basically break even at this point in time. It pays for our operating expenses. So our budget, our operating budget is around 95,000, but that's also including donations.
So the 95,000 includes revenues and expenditures?
That is our total expense.
Okay.
For a year?
Yep.
Okay.
And, how much is rent on what you're, you know?
So, our original space is 1,500 a month. Our landlord is giving us a wonderful deal on the second space, otherwise we wouldn't have been able to, do it, but it's 250 for the second space.
So you're paying $1,750. Do you have a lease in place at this
Yes.
time?
Yep.
And since the owner's there, they're willing to break the lease if you
Yes, we
purchase this,
signed the lease
obviously.
in January, our new lease this January, and within that has language for us to break the lease to purchase.
Okay. So you're paying $1,750. And do you know how many square feet that is?
A little over
Total?
6,000.
6,000.
Marcy, when I met with you guys, you mentioned that you are a 501c3, but then you said something else, that you were nonprofit but kind of weren't too, or did I miss something there?
It's just a weird intersection of small business and nonprofit, because most nonprofits are running an actual business alongside of it. And so it's a weird intersection of those two things. So like sometimes we don't qualify for things because we are running a business, or we don't qualify for things because we're a nonprofit.
Maybe I'm missing something. How is it split then? Like, what's nonprofit and what's business?
That's a good question. So running the museum is the business.
Okay.
The nonprofit side is in order to be in the Association of Children's Museums and be a part of that network and be able to offer that reciprocal benefit to our members, we have to be a nonprofit. And being a nonprofit, we are able to accept donations, specifically bigger donations for exhibits and things like that.
Does that create difficulties from an accounting standpoint, because it is kind of a Jekyll and Hyde thing?
It operates together. It's just that when people think of nonprofits, they don't think of nonprofits as running a business.
I had somebody ask me, and I didn't know how to answer it. I saw what you guys did. I thought it was neat. What makes it a museum is the question that came to me, and I said, well, I'm not sure.
The learning. They're
Yes,
learning through
yeah.
play.
It's learning, it's a learning environment. It's just a hands-on play-based learning instead of just reading things.
Okay.
And there's a whole association for children's museums that we are part of.
We didn't come up with the name Children's
Sure.
Museum.
Well, they kind of caught me off guard, because I'm like, I don't know, I'm not sure.
It was confusing at first, especially our landlord was very confused when we told him what we were wanting to use the space for. He's like, what? You're gonna walk around and like read about kids? You know.
Read about their toys? No.
Yeah.
Are most of the children Carroll City residents? Because I noticed you asked the Board of Supervisors for 10,000, so I assumed, okay, it's not real countywide, it's local. And then a second question, you said you raised 82,800 in the community. Is that all local, like residents? I saw the bank gave you 10,000 commercial, et cetera. So mainly
Yeah.
Carroll kids, right?
I would say a majority of them are Carroll, and then Carroll County as well. So I would would say 75% of our visitors are Carroll County, and probably 50% are from the city of Carroll. And then the rest are from, we've had visitors from 10 plus counties around Iowa.
Are you approaching other cities in the county then? If 75% are from the county, are you hitting the main, like, are you going to Glidden, are you going to Coonrad? I don't know where in the county they're coming from, but are you asking the other towns in the county, the main
We have
ones?
not asked them yet, but it is something I've thought about.
Yeah, I guess I'm surprised that it breaks down that way, but thank you. 75, 50, 50 cities.
I'm a little confused on that. 75% of them are in Carroll County.
Yeah.
Of that, 50% are from the city of Carroll?
So I would say out of our total visitors, 50% are from the city of Carroll, and then 25 from other towns within the county.
And 25
And
are
then
visitors.
25 would be other counties in the state or other states.
Beyond Carroll County, okay.
Marcy, you listed the places where you've applied. Have any of these places, I know some of them it says we have to have other commitments first, but have any of these places actually committed money yet, or is it all of these still in the hopper, if you will?
I think I have been in contact with New Co-op and the Mash-Offs. They have committed to giving something, but they have not met with their board yet this year to decide whether they're gonna give the full amount that we asked for or not.
And is the Mash-Offs, is that just a private family? I guess I'm not familiar.
Yeah, they run hog confinement.
Oh, okay, okay. All right.
So you're paying $17.50 rent, and you're probably not having to pay utilities at all, are you?
Yes, we are.
You are paying
Yeah.
utilities
So
at this
total, we pay about $2,200 a month.
2,200, and that'd be heat
Yep.
and water, probably not a lot of that, but.
And I think that's all. The utilities also include our like mall fees.
All right, then, I guess the question I have, main question I have is, when you say ownership, and you're telling me there's a private and a public component, who's going to own it? So who's gonna, when it comes to paying taxes on that, is it tax exempt? Who will own the building when?
So the Carroll Children's Museum Foundation will own the space.
So it's a nonprofit
Yes.
organization
Mhm.
will own it?
Yep.
Okay, so it'll be exempt from taxes at that time,
Mhm.
right? Okay.
And just to confirm on this, on your recap, your total dollars needed, the $200,000 is the actual cost of the building itself that you've been offered? Yeah, okay.
So I see you need $260,000 in the bank or so before IEDA, or is that a commitment?
For them, it's commitment, I believe. So it can be over. So there are some commitments that have been made over a few years, like 2 years. They'll give so much this year and so much next year. But yes, they need commitments, and then also from city and state. The one the IEDA requires city and state involvement, or city and county involvement in order to accept our application.
You've already expanded once. I know your numbers are growing, which is great. Are you at or near capacity right now? Because I'm wondering, if you purchase this, what do you do if you need more space?
We have not filled our second space.
Oh, you have not?
No.
Okay.
It's about probably a third full, maybe not even a quarter full with the exhibits. But we paused our fundraising for specific exhibits in order to purchase a space, because there are exhibits that we want to put in that space that we don't want to do unless we own it,
Sure.
because they're more fixture exhibits.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Thank you.
Do you know of any cities around that have a comparable type of a facility? I mean, I don't, but this is seems to be it's a unique thing that would draw.
Yes. So the closest children's museums are Des Moines and Omaha and Sioux City. And they're all larger, larger scale. There are some, like in Nebraska, in
you mentioned early childhood development, which is a plus. What type of credentials do your staff members have to promote that? Is it like a teaching degree or not, or TA, or what are the credentials?
So our staff that works in the museum is not directly working with the kids. It's not a drop-off space unless we have a special program for
Okay.
that. So the adults who come with the kids stay with the
Oh,
kids.
so okay,
Yes.
so you are not regulated by the state in any way, such as a daycare center would be?
No.
Okay,
We have some programming that is drop-off, but it's not enough of our operating
Okay.
that we need any licenses.
okay. How many full-time people do you have right now?
So technically just me full-time, but I'm
Okay.
not getting paid for my full-time job. The rest of our paid employees are all hourly
Are they?
part-time workers.
Okay, okay.
Oh, yes. My background is elementary education.
Oh, good.
I was a teacher for several years, and so part of that helped.
Oh,
part
yeah,
with
yeah.
creating things and creating some of the programming. So the no school adventure camps, which are on those scheduled no school days during the school year, and then summer STEM camps as well.
Sure, okay.
Laura, I have a question for you. This is a pretty big ask money-wise. Do we have any idea yet when we'll have a better idea from the state? I know that the legislature's chewing on 4 different versions of this property tax deal, but when will we know what our exposure is from the state as far as how it might impact our budget
You're talking about the property tax reform stuff?
and lost and everything
I've
else?
been involved in this a lot.
Start-
Yeah, your guess is as good as
Did I just
Yeah.
open a big can of worms?
No,
mine.
Yeah.
April for sure, I hope.
In fact, I go down tomorrow to talk to them. It's anybody's bag, right? What they're there's 4 different things out there, and one of them's for retirees, but the other 3 are for the 2% maximum increase in dollars for cities. They're probably thinking of taking a little bit from each one of the 3 and making a bill. That's what they're talking about right now. Now, the senior thing will be a thing on its own. And that one, if they go through with the one that they're talking about now, that will be an $800,000 negative impact for the city. That'll be tough. Glidden, that'll be worse, because their population is, a lot of them are, it's 60 and over.
Right.
They have a lot of them that are in that 60, they'll have,
No, it's 60.
it's
Is it
60.
60?
Some of it's 65, it's confusing. This one for the
There's
seniors
4
is
plans.
60.
Is
The
it?
other one's
Okay.
for the freeze that Reynolds wants is 65.
Yeah.
That'll be tough for all cities, especially the smaller ones.
I think Iowa in general has, what, the 2nd oldest population in the country per capita.
And a lot of them are in your smaller towns too,
Yeah.
compared,
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
we're like 30, I can't remember, about 33% or in that category, where Glidden's like close to 50%. So that'll just,
No.
I have one more question.
I assume you're willing to keep answering.
When you said you had paid employees, your hourly part-time are now, are they falling under the nonprofit or that part of your business side?
So the nonprofit and the business are all under one entity. I just explain it to people that way because it creates
Confusion.
it creates confusion. But it's all under the same. The Carroll Children's Museum is all a nonprofit, and we're running a business under the nonprofit.
Okay, so I'm asking then, your paid employees, are they paying payroll taxes? Are they not?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any other-
You talk?
Kind of thinking.
You offered, so.
we don't have,
He's looking right at
2 minutes.
oh, yeah.
I assume you're here representing as a parent.
Sure, I'm Chase Worden, I think also.
Okay, give us a couple minutes here
Yeah,
about
just
what.
observation, if you've never been down there during the hours, or taking your grandkids down there, or seen the space, Scott walked around, I showed him around one time, we had our kids down there, it is a phenomenal space. Kids love it, it's great for the activities, we don't have a Saturday, activity lined up, our typical routine is we go down there, I drop my wife's wedding ring off at Eckerman's, get cleaned, I get her a coffee from Eddie's, I go down and maybe look at shoes or something from from Browns, right? Go back and we play in the Children's Museum for an hour and a half. But we spend, 3-4 hours downtown, go to Culver, get a corn dog afterwards, it's awesome. And there's so many families that benefit from this, it's just a great space. So if you've not seen it before, interacted down there, I encourage you all to go down there. Just go check it out, it's awesome. So it's very unique for our city, and I can't tell you how many clients I have that live in Denison or Sac City or Harlan. So we love coming to Carroll to go to the museum. Seriously, they bring their kids up here on a Saturday or a Sunday, is it open Sunday? We don't do Sunday. Sundays, it's just awesome. So strongly encourage you guys to do that, and I'm an advocate for it. So you can see that in the letter we wrote, and then some of the other support letters that.
Well, I saw the letter you wrote, and I thought, well, he took the time to come to the meeting, and I think you deserve a couple minutes to
Thank you.
talk if you're willing. So thank you very much. If there's
Thank
no other
you.
questions, we appreciate this.
Thank you,
We're going
guys.
into the budget process, as you know, so
Perfect. Well, thank you guys.
thank you for presenting.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next we'll move on to the consent agenda, which includes approval of minutes of the January 12th, 25 meeting, approval of bills and claims, approval of licenses and permits, which include renewal of Class B retail alcohol license for Dollar General Store, and renewal of Class E retail alcohol license for Walmart Supercenter, and numerous appointments to committees, commissions, and boards, which are included in our packet. Are there any questions regarding?
I would move approval of the consent agenda as
Okay,
presented.
is there a second?
Second.
All right, the motion was made by Jeff and Laverne is the second. Roll call vote, please.
Taylor,
Yes.
Coster,
Yes.
Dirks,
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right, are there any oral requests from anyone in the audience? You've already presented some. This would be related to anything that is not on the agenda. Is there anything that anybody would like to bring up to us in 5 minutes? And seeing nothing, we'll move on to ordinances. And our first ordinance is an amendment for parking provisions on 6th Street and 10th Street. This will be the first reading, and Brad.
Thank you, Mayor. The first section of this, there's two parts of this chapter 69 ordinance change request. The first one is section 40, which is 6th Street. And 6th Street is the road that was by the old Casey's, that little triangle along Grant and Highway 30. The parking signs, Randy has informed me, are due to be replaced. We really don't need any parking signs there. It's only really used for staging for some construction that we've had over the years, and it's just kind of hit or miss. But if there is any parking there, it would not conflict with any traffic at all on that road. So the recommendation would be to remove the parking on 6th Street from Grant Road. It says to US Highway 30, which you no longer can access US Highway 30 from that road. So that is the first part of this ordinance request change. And the second one is section 41, which is 10th Street. And this is the parking along the south side of Adams Elementary between Main Street and Adams Street. And we'll be requesting to change it from a no parking anytime zone to a loading and unloading zone from that location. The highlighted areas in the memo that I drafted kind of shows that, and then of course the ordinance makes the change there too. Initially we had kind of hoped to just all pass through tonight with 2 council members absent. We can only have the first reading, so just keep that in mind when you do move forward here.
Do we need to do 2 separate motions, or can we do it all in one? With the,
One's fine, yeah,
One with the only motion we have
for
is
one ordinance.
right, for the
First reading.
For the first reading.
but for 6th Street and 10th Street, all in one?
Oh, yeah. It's
Before
one
you
ordinance,
do,
yes.
if anyone's interested in making a motion, I just have a quick question. Randy, you might know better, but that's 6th Street, okay? I thought the highway was 6th Street. What, am I
It is
wrong
in
here?
certain
What's going
places.
on?
It flares up. And
From
down.
Crawford Street to Maple is 6th Street.
What's that now?
Mm.
From
From
Crawford?
Crawford
The
Street
highway is 6th
Okay.
Street from
to
Crawford
Maple is 6th Street.
Then it curves.
Where it curves there, where the old Casey's was at, that was 6th Street. It would have been the south side of this road where we're going to be taking the parking off. And then from Crawford Street, the little back road that goes behind Dupaco, the electric place, to Baumgart's is 6th Street. Then the gravel road on the north side of the railroad tracks on the west side of town is also 6th Street. So
I just wanted to know.
it's very confusing.
And I will tell you that one thing, no one cares about this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I had a delivery person once who did not know where Glidden was. So, I told them, just go to 6th Street, which is Highway 30, and go 80 blocks that way. They didn't know east from west either, so. But if they go 80 blocks that way, that's good.
That sounds right.
So,
Yeah, it's very confusing with Highway 30 and 6th Street.
I'm glad that's interesting to me, because I really thought 6th Street was the highway all the way through, so.
I would move that we introduce the ordinance and have the first reading.
This is a request from the school system?
This was not, this was just by observation, so the school has a pickup zone, and we changed that a couple years ago for Main Street. This is gonna be matching along 10th Street, so I believe they had some fear that with the busing changes, they were gonna need some more loading and unloading zone, and when they sent their directions out for parents, they included 10th Street also. So it currently is a no parking zone, but if you go by there, you'll see that after school, it's become a pickup and drop-off location. So we're just gonna codify kind of what's already occurring there. We don't believe there'll be any traffic congestion issues. It's been happening since August.
This is not the school buses, this is
Parents.
Parent
doing
pickup and
this?
drop off,
So will
correct?
that get them off, Main Street then?
Probably not.
Okay,
It will reduce some traffic on Main Street, but it's not gonna remove them from Main Street. So what we're seeing now, and I was just talking with Randy before, from about 11th to 10th is parking for parents waiting to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're also turning the corner and going westbound on 10th Street up to Adams.
okay.
And then their pickup zone, they're putting kids in the car at the corner of 10th and Adams.
Okay. So this is a good safety issue.
It seems to be working too, with no issues. We have no accidents, no issues with kids.
Good.
It's a good pickup location to get them on to that spot anyway, and it's working, so we might as well codify
All
it.
right. I'll second that motion. First reading only because of only 4 of us. Okay.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Seaman?
Yes.
Kaler?
Yes.
Coster?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. And the next ordinance is amendment for chapter 62.01, financial liability, first reading. And Brad?
Thank you, Mayor. This is, chapter 62 from our ordinance adopts a lot of the traffic code from the state code into our city ordinances, which our officers are using for enforcement. The paragraph 160 would be the adoption of chapter 321.20B, which is your financial liability, otherwise known as vehicle insurance requirements through the state of Iowa. This has not been in our city ordinance, and it does cause some confusing for officers and the courts when we have car accidents and things like that, where we're citing for insurance and or city violation too. This will just allow the officers to be able to write a city code for the financial liability requirements, and it'll match all the rest of our city codes. I think historically this has not been because the courts at one point were dismissing charges if the parties could provide insurance. The state code does require that they pay the court fees, so then we don't get those fees back to us. So we don't see any issue financially for the city with this, as we may have in the past. So I think it'll be a good move that will really keep our officers writing the city codes instead of state code too.
Brad, as you guys have covered these accidents, do you see a lot of people that don't have insurance?
Unfortunately, yes.
And is it still the same as it used to be where if the code, or if it's written under state code, the state takes 90% of the fine money?
I believe so. I don't know what the breakdown is, but the confusing part of it is if it's a state code, the county attorney's office does the prosecution, or if it's a city code, our city attorney can do the prosecution. And so if we have a car accident where we're writing one state code, one city code, we could have 2 separate trials per se if we had to go that route.
Sure. I would move to introduce the ordinance and have the first reading.
I'll second that.
All right. Jeff made the motion, Laverne made the second. Roll call, please.
Coster?
Yes.
Kaler?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you.
We'll move to resolutions. First will be lease agreements with Carroll Community School District and the Kemper Catholic School System. And Chad.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. This is just our standard operational lease agreements that we have with both Carroll and Kemper every year. These includes both school districts for Merchants Park, FFA Farm Lease, Field 7 lease for Kemper, the Carroll Merchants Concession Stand lease with Kemper, as well as the swim team agreement from Carroll Community Schools. None of the verbiage has changed. We've reworked these in the past couple of years, so they are all up to date. The amounts match, dates match. So that was the only changes from last year's to this year's. I'm guessing they're gonna have to go through each one and vote on, Dave? Or can they just do it in one singular vote?
No, they gotta do it.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
Six
Thanks.
motions.
Six motions.
Yeah.
Okay, you've had no problems in the
If
past
there's
with
any
these
questions.
at all?
Nope.
Chad? All
Is there
right.
any
No, we have a
way
good
you can
relationship
get
with
these
both.
more than just 1 year?
We could, but our fear would be if we increase staff amounts, whether it's lifeguards, ball field duties, you know,
Okay.
things like that. So generally, we like to try and keep them at 1 year, but
All right.
Chad, are you
And so do
comfortable
they.
with the amounts of money? I mean, it's one taxing entity charging others.
Correct.
In some of these cases.
Yep.
Is this enough or is it reasonable?
I believe so. So in all of these, we basically just try and recoup our costs. Both entities also utilize some of our other facilities, but there is no general amount that we lose because of it. So we just don't have a lease and we allow them to do it under just an agreement. But since there is costs associated to all of these, whether it's staff time, materials, or the FFA farm lease where they are utilizing our grounds, we generally want to have a lease in place.
This falls under where we are a service, the city.
I just had one question, Chad, and, you know, the insurance is named on each contract lease. So are we named as an additional insured on those? Do we get a copy of that?
I believe so, right, Dave? Yes.
Right.
Yep. Yes, and we get a copy of each entity's insurance every year.
Perfect, thanks.
Any more questions? If not, I'd look for approval of the Carroll Community School District Merchants Park lease. For a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Jeff
Second.
and Carolyn seconded. Roll call, please.
Taylor?
Yep.
Coster?
Yes,
Dirks?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
All right, I would look for a motion to approve the Kemper Catholic School System Merchants Park lease
So
Aye.
moved.
by Laverne
I'll second.
and Deb seconded. Roll call, please.
Seaman?
Yes.
Coster?
Yes,
Dirks?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
And motion to approve the Carroll Community School District FFA farm lease. Motion
So moved.
by Jeff. Okay, Laverne seconded. Roll call, please.
Dirks?
Yes.
Coster?
yes,
Seaman?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
And a motion to approve the Kemper Catholic School System Field 7 lease.
So moved.
Second.
By Laverne. We'll go with Carolyn seconding. Roll call, please.
Taylor?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Coster?
yes,
Dirks?
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
And the Kemper Catholic System, School System Merchants Concession Stand lease. Is there a motion to approve?
I move.
By Jeff.
Second.
Second.
Laverne seconded that, and roll call, please.
Coster?
yes,
Seaman?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
All right, and the resolution to approve the Carroll Community School District Swim Team Agreement
So moved.
by Laverne
second,
and Deb seconded. Roll call, please.
Seaman?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Coster?
yes,
Dirks?
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Did we miss the first one? Merchants Park, Carroll School?
No, we got that one.
Okay.
I'm
Oh, we got it.
pretty confident. He didn't make the motion, did he?
No. Well, you started reading it and you went right to the second one.
Well, no, we had a vote.
Yeah, we had one.
We did.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to reports. And we have one report today, which is the fiscal year 2026-27 budget.
We have
Wait.
one left.
Miss one.
Did I miss? What did I miss?
One more lease.
Oh,
Merchants.
excuse me, Merchants Park lease agreement. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Well,
I would move approval of that lease.
Yeah, thankfully, we only have to do that once a year, so. This is for the Iowa Community College Athletic Conference baseball tournament. They're requesting to be played again here at Merchants Park in 2026. Last year was the first time in, I think, 12 or 15 years that has been held at Merchants Park. It was a phenomenal tournament. We had pretty good attendance at each one. All 8 teams, I believe, stayed for the most part in town over their 4 days here. We had no complaints for our end and are very excited to welcome them back.
Chad, did any of you, either party, discuss multiple years? You have in here second paragraph for future year, for parentheses, plural.
Originally, we looked at the lease agreement for last year as a 1.
Right, right.
With the ability to go to 3. Generally, they've done 3 years at each site. What they are actually kind of discussing in-house right now is maybe alternating sites every year. That would actually benefit us a lot instead of having to host it, 3-year stints and then maybe not get it back for 15 or 20 years. It's an awesome tournament to have here in town. If we could be in a regular mix with that without pressuring both of our high school teams,
Okay, yeah.
putting them off for basically 3 days of their practice at the
Right.
beginning of the season.
Okay.
It's stressful for them too. But thankfully, we've worked really well with them and are able to
Yeah, it's
make it all
great.
work out.
Thank you.
You don't need a lot of volunteers for this one, do you?
Not for this one, no. We kind of overstaffed it our first year, and which was a good thing because we didn't know exactly what to expect. But
What went on with concessions for it, anything?
Kemper came in and helped with concessions.
And is that necessary to lease out or not?
That would be included in their lease. So basically anything from May 1st when baseball season starts to the end. Optionally, some of those teams are allowed to have games prior to that, scrimmages
Okay.
more than actual games. So they already kind of fall under the lease. They're happy to come in and help. They did a great job again last year.
Okay. Any further questions? For a motion to approve?
I already made it.
Jeff, you made it?
Yeah, earlier.
Okay. And
Premature.
Dylan second that I missed or not?
I'll second.
Laverne second.
It's good
Roll
baseball.
call, please.
Baylor?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Jerks?
Yes.
Coster?
Yes.
Resolution's approved.
Okay, now we'll try reports. And we'll go to the fiscal year 2026-27 budget introduction. I would have had Aaron introduce it, but Laura, how do you feel about talking a little bit about this?
Yes. I think I know what's in the book.
I'm pretty sure you do.
I might know a few of the pages in there, or maybe all of them. So everybody should have their budget book at their spot tonight. And the intent of tonight's discussion is to go through some of the introductory stuff to get you to start thinking about the city budget, and then we'll continue discussions next Monday and Wednesday next week, where each department will go dive a little bit more into detail of their stuff. If you open your budget book, on the inside cover, there is a schedule of what we plan to talk about each of the nights, as well as a summary of the hotel motel tax collections and go up to sales tax. We won't probably discuss those tonight, and we'll get into more detail next week. But just so that you can see what the topics or the different departments that are being planned to discuss next Monday and Wednesday, if you want to be prepared for those nights, that's included in that schedule. But for tonight, we were going to go through some of the very introductory items. Under tab A is a memo, summary memo from the city manager, Aaron Burkier, he would go through this. I'll hit some of the highlights of it. A lot of this stuff that's in his memo is in under tab B, information, which we'll highlight here in just a moment. Some of the things that are not in there would be, he talks a little bit about what we did on the floor about the state legislation and the different proposals that are being discussed, and everything is very uncertain right now at the State House. The one that we do know that we've heard most about is this 2%. The 2% would relate to just one of the components of our overall levy, and that component is what we call the consolidated general fund levy. If that gets limited to 2%, then that would obviously take a hit on the amount of taxes we can generate from that particular levy. Just to give you a little bit of highlight this year, the increase that we have proposed in this budget for that levy is like a 8% increase in that particular area. So 2%, that's a difference of like $260,000 that we could not levy if we were capped at that 2%.
Does the 2% exclude new construction? I know some of the proposals do, or do they all? Okay,
So my number there would not, I
Yeah.
don't have that.
And
number.
debt,
yeah,
Yeah, and so then it would, that 2% cap excludes the other levy components that we typically utilize for
Okay.
the
debt
insurance.
service.
And debt service and employee benefits.
Right.
But you have to have those expenses in order to levy for them. You can't just levy whatever just to be able to collect taxes. You have to
Right.
have those expenses
Right.
to cover.
One of the things I noticed in this year's budget book, you said that we don't necessarily levy for all of the employee benefits.
Correct.
If we got into a pinch, is that something we would look at doing then,
Yes,
or?
we would be looking at all different types of revenue, options that are available to cities to try to make sure, so you're trying to run a business, right? And you need to generate revenue to cover your expenses, or if you don't generate enough revenue, you have to cut expenses. And usually cutting expenses for a city equals cutting services. So we would have to take a really hard look on what that means based upon the amount of revenue that we can generate, what equates to the services we can provide.
Okay.
Another highlight, we always try to budget our, what we call a balanced budget for our general fund is being around that 25%. What's being proposed here is about 24.5%, so we're right at that 25%. The levy that is being proposed in here is $11.25, which is down from $12.16, which is what we're currently operating under. That does equate to a 3% increase in new property tax revenue. We'll get into that and how that all works here just in a moment, but just to let you know, it's about a 91-cent decrease in the actual levy itself, but generating 3% more in taxes. Let's see, what else? We'll highlight that. All the council priorities are, we talked about them at the staff level. Either we've allocated some funding to them, some of the information in the funding is very premature that we don't know for sure exactly how much some of the stuff will cost, or we've talked about it on what's the next step, for instance, the citizen survey, having to identify what's the next step on that for sure, or how we would go about doing that, but we've talked about in the office to work on over the next year or two.
so our top 3 priorities are already budgeted underneath local option sales tax. Facade,
Yes,
airport, and shelter house.
yes. The debt service levy, we've worked with PFM to incorporate a debt issuance into this proposal. And on page 2 of the city manager memo, it talks about the different projects that would be funded by this debt service, or this debt issuance, including the water pressure zone project, a sanitary sewer improvements, the VLR/digester improvements, a fire truck, 12th Street reconstruction project, and improvements to the US 30 traffic signals. That actually is being proposed, once you add all those together, it's $9,695,000 debt issuance. Out of that though, a lot of the debt service, debt payments are being covered by water, sewer user fees, and TIF. The only projects out of there that are being covered by the actual tax dollars of, through the debt service levy is the fire truck and the 12th Street reconstruction project. And the final thing I'll note on here are some employee cost information. The retirement systems that the city is a part of, IFRS and Vista Fire and Police, either the percentage that the city is required to contribute has either stayed the same from our current year going into next year or has gone down slightly, and those numbers are listed in there. And finally, our health insurance costs, while we don't have final numbers on what those premiums will be, we do have some preliminary information that says it will definitely be less than a 10% increase that we've got built into this budget. So we're very optimistic that it'll definitely be under 10, probably even under 5%.
You said you did build 10% in?
We built 10% in to the health insurance premiums, though our indication from our consultants is it will not be near that. So we're working with them to finalize those numbers here shortly. So a lot of the stuff that's in that memo, or in that memo, will be discussed in further detail under tab B. But before we get to that, just to give you a quick highlight. Oh, I keep doing it on the mouse, sorry. Page 1 and 2 of the actual document itself are our fund balances. We won't go into detail on each of those at this point, but I will highlight, we talked about the general fund being balanced at the 24.5% of our revenues. There are a couple funds that we do show in the negative. I'll just highlight those real quick, that they may show negative at the end of our projections for 27, but we are planning for them to go positive, hopefully in the year after that or so. For instance, the Westville special revenue, that is a TIF area or renewal area that TIF collections will be requested in the next year to cover the deficit there. And the other one is the CP utilities. Those funds actually, or that negative is some engineering costs that the city incurred for developing, or to come up with plans for the Ziegler project on the west side of town. I know there's been talks going on, though nothing has been finalized on how that project is moving.
They're still in Postville, Iowa yet, trying to get that one done. Farming County has slowed their dates down.
The anticipation is hopefully as that project gets developed, will generate tax increment that we can cover then these costs.
They still plan on coming, it's just,
It's been a little slower than they had
farm economy
anticipated.
slowed it down.
Yeah. So some of the fund balances will get discussed when each of the departments talk about their areas. So moving on. So the bulk of how we go about putting our budget books together starts with information from page 4, which is assessed value. Everything starts with the assessed value of the property, and that assessed values are assigned by the county assessor in every county. I guess there are a few city assessors, but we won't go to that. We'll just assume it's all the county assessors across the state. After you get your assessed values established by your assessor, the state says you have to apply rollbacks and exemptions, and then that gets you to your taxable valuation. As you can see, this year, with the 1/1/25 values, which we used to build our 27 budget, our assessed values overall across the city went up 14.65%. I will say that is quite the increase that I've seen, quite a larger increase than I've seen. Usually we don't quite see
It
that.
was much more than last year, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what last year's was off the top of my head, but this was what they call a reevaluation year. And assessors definitely do, I think, a harder look at the actual values of the properties to come up with the numbers. So this is quite a large increase for the city of Carroll. Once we apply the rollback and the exemptions, we get to our taxable valuation. And you can see overall, our taxable valuation went up to 10.5%. That is quite the increase, actually, that I remember seeing without going back and looking at other books. Usually our taxable valuation increases anywhere like only 1 to 2%. So 10.5% is quite a large increase. Jeff?
Military tax exemption, 21% down. What would cause that, or what is that?
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know for sure where those numbers come from.
okay.
That's all good.
It seems pretty big for 1 year, but
I can't tell you how they
Okay.
come up with those numbers, yeah. I don't know. So from there, we would apply our levy, and then that levy generates our tax dollars, which those pages are coming up here in a little bit. But when you have quite a large increase, one thing, I'll take a step back here. So there was a state law that was put into effect a couple years ago that says if your non-TIF taxable valuation, so it's in the middle of this page, that 11.3% number area, if that number year over year goes up more than certain percentages, our consolidated general fund, and for the old timers in here, our old 810, that 810, that levy, has to be ratcheted back. So, I'm gonna flip forward here a few pages. So on page 12, you'll see for years and years and years and years, actually as long as I've been at the city, over 20 years, we were always at 810. The old law says that was the max that you could generate under that particular levy. And that levy, you're like, well, what do you do with that levy? Well, that levy is the one that we basically use to pay for our day-to-day operations of the city. With the large increase in our taxable valuation in this new law, we cannot go above the $7.86 that you see on this page. It got ratcheted back. We could go lower if we wanted to, however, we cannot go any higher this year. Now, next year, if for some reason our taxable valuation does not grow more than 2.75%, we could go back to the 810. We'll evaluate that when that time comes. But for this year, we are limited to the $7.86 on this particular levy. Okay, I'm gonna go back up to page 6 in your book. We put together a lot of charts and comparisons throughout this so that you can see what have we been doing over time, how do we compare to other cities of similar size. So this next chart is taking a look at what the residential property tax rollback has done over the years. As you can see, the red bar is the assessed value over the past 10 years. By putting into place the required rollbacks and exemptions from the state, the blue bar is our taxable valuation. And you can see, even though the red bar has gone up quite significantly over the past 10 years, the blue bar has not. So the rollback is, I think, doing what the intent was supposed to do so that the taxable valuations on a residential home don't spike with a large increase in the assessed value. The next page looks at the total taxable valuation of the city broken down by what we call the non-TIF, the dark blue portion, versus the TIF portion, that red portion. And just looking at the bars over time, our taxable valuation has not grown necessarily by leaps and bounds. And actually, a few years in there, we saw a decrease. But then this year, we did see a more significant or higher increase in our taxable valuation over time. And then that all plays into where the city proposes and ultimately sets the levy for generating the taxes. The next 3 charts are some comparisons. So we like to look and compare ourselves to cities of similar size. So with our population being in 10,321, we look at communities with populations 8,000 all the way up to 12,000, and then pull a bunch of data to see how we compare. These next 3 charts take a look at our taxable valuation of our peer group. So the first one is this residential taxable valuation, and you can see we're, the upper part of our comparison group. The next chart after that is the commercial and industrial taxable valuation. I'll take a step back. These are based upon what we call the January 1st, 2020, or the 1/1/24 values, which is our 26 budget. So it's the year we're currently operating. All the cities are currently operating under this valuation information. The commercial and industrial, we're still towards the top of our comp group. And then if you take a look on the third chart, it's the total taxable valuation of all those different components that make up your taxable values. And you can see the city of Carroll is on the upper half of comparison of other communities. So if you look at, if you ever think about, well, why is Spencer's higher than ours? Well, then you would want to dive into what makes up Spencer's taxable valuation and do a bigger dive, or if you're like, I like the way, or I hear good things about such and such communities, start diving into what are they doing to make their taxable valuations where they're at.
And depending on who you talk to, a high taxable valuation is great unless you're paying taxes on it.
Yeah.
But discussions I've had with people essentially went, would you rather live in a community where your property appreciates in value, or would you rather live in a community where it doesn't or it depreciates?
Sure, yes, good point. The next page is a discussion narrative of the different levy components. So we talk about the city's total levy. Well, that's made up of, in our case, 4 different components. There could be a few more, but we typically use 4 different components to come up with our taxes to operate the city. The first one is our consolidated general fund, or you'll hear it called the CGFL. We talked about this just a little bit ago, and that we are maxed at the $7.86. This is the component where we typically pay for a lot of the city's day-to-day operations, from the rec center to the police department to fire department to the operations of City Hall. So all the day-to-day operations. The next one is the employee benefit, just what it says. It's to help cover the costs associated with employing people, from health insurance to worker comp to the retirement benefits. Next is the tort liability levy. This is to cover the city's insurance costs that are required for liability, worker comp, as well, I guess worker comp could go either way, worker comp as well as property insurance. And finally, the debt service levy. So typically the city issues debt to do improvements, major capital projects. And so with debt, there's principal and interest payments. So this levy would collect taxes to pay for the principal and interest payments. When we talk more about the debt, there is a breakdown under tab D of our different debts that are outstanding for the different projects. Out of that, there is the number that a total amount of principal and interest that we pay every year. However, only 29% of those payments are covered by the debt service levy, that there are other funding sources that pay for the remainder, including local option sales tax, TIF collections, and enterprise or water and sewer user fees.
I have a question about the new federal guidelines or laws that say that we don't tax overtime, right?
Yes.
Do we have people that have overtime here?
Yes, there is some.
Okay, so in the future then,
It's not that we don't collect taxes or we don't withhold for taxes in your paycheck.
so that's
It's
still the
on
same.
your tax return.
It's only on the return, so
Yes.
we won't change anything
Correct.
in terms of FICA stays the same, so it doesn't save the city any money at all.
Nope,
Okay.
nope. And that overtime on tax, what we had to update our, processes a little bit in the city of how we track the overtime, because not all overtime, under our current city policies, not all overtime will be considered deductible on your tax return. Because of,
They call overtime something different, the federal government describes it differently.
so, a little bit, yep, there's the Fair Labor Standards rules of figuring overtime, and then we have our current city policies / union negotiated ways of figuring overtime.
Okay, so overtime, do you know what hourly amount overtime starts at for us?
For us, it depends, but the federal government rules are hours worked over 40.
Correct, I get that, but what's ours for that?
It would, how we differ is some of the hours that we pay, for instance, for vacation leave and holiday hours, are considered hours worked to get to your 40.
Okay,
So, there could be weeks where you took a vacation day, but in another day, you worked 10 hours. Then those 2 hours, we would, because of our city policy, we'd pay those at overtime, but that's not deductible under the
Federal guidelines.
Fair Labor Standards Act rules.
Brad, what do you guys use for, because you're not 40 hours a week anymore, are you?
It's confusing also because it's an 80-hour pay period, but your overtime is calculated based on anything that's above the originally scheduled days.
Each day?
No, per
Scheduled
week.
week, sorry.
So like in that 80 hours, a very common scheduling is you work 36 hours one week, 44 the other week.
Right.
So if you worked 37 hours in that week that you were scheduled for 36, that 1 hour would be paid at overtime. But Fair Labor Standards says for an 80-hour in law enforcement, you have to work over 86 hours before you get overtime.
Right. And you can also go to 4-week schedule too.
Yes, yes, you could, yeah. Yep, which I know there are some communities that do that. We don't. It was
hard enough
quite the
this way.
learning curve this year when we were learning all about these and then figuring out the OT deductibility rules and stuff, and so, yeah.
I'm really glad I brought this up.
Well, and it's fresh in my mind
Got
because
it.
I just spent hours,
Okay.
myself and another staff member spent hours going through payroll.
Just looking at an
Yes.
angle where we might save a little taxation.
No,
It's
it
not
doesn't.
happening.
Actually, it added a little bit of work to us, but.
Give it a shot.
Are there any questions about the different components that make up our, overall levy? That's what this page is trying to explain.
So these 4 areas are what makes up our current $12.16.
Correct. Yep. Now, if you go to the next page, you'll actually see those numbers, those components in numbers, and we do a 10-year history so you can see what it's looked like over the last 10 years, and then what is being proposed at for this fiscal year. So the main reason for the huge decrease is we saw quite the increase in a taxable valuation this year. So this is a number that we use to apply to our taxable valuation to generate our taxes. Yes, the levy went down 91 cents, which equates to, on the next page, a 3% increase in actual dollars requested.
Laura, what caused the special revenue employee benefits to go down 61 cents?
We probably we were trying to target a 3% revenue increase, and so we decreased that number.
And this is one of the areas that we don't levy for all of the benefits. We take
Correct.
some of it from other areas.
Yes. This budget proposal, I'm glad you brought that up, because we are showing in this budget proposal taking 260,000, I think it's 260,000, out of local option sales tax to cover for employee benefits this year. No, sorry, 200,000 of local option sales tax as part of our tax relief efforts to go towards.
Is that the first time we've done anything like that, or no?
For this particular expense, typically we've utilized, local option sales tax to cover expenses for principal and interest or debt service payments.
And the current local option sales tax, is it 25% tax relief and so much for other lawful purposes, or what's the current language?
Yeah, yep, 25% towards tax relief and then 75% for any lawful purpose,
Okay, and so 200,000 is 10%, roughly?
roughly,
Not
yeah.
quite 10.
Not quite.
What do we do with the other 15% to come up with the tax relief?
Well, you can also say, or utilize, the other projects that are being proposed to be paid for by the local option sales tax.
That would have
funds.
been paid with levied funds?
Yes.
Okay.
For instance, we're showing $700,000 out of local option sales tax, which we'll get into some more details on this next week, but $700,000 out of local option sales tax to go towards a new shelter house.
Mhm.
Okay, so that shows the levy component, and then the dollars requested is a 3% increase over the current year for next year. Are there any questions on this information so far?
That's 3% on the actual dollars.
On the actual dollars, yes.
So the state's gonna try and make that 2%.
They're trying to make, I believe, 2% on the consolidated general
Yeah,
fund
consolidated,
component
not all the
only.
others, yeah.
Yeah, where this year's consolidated general fund component, the consolidated general fund component of the overall levy, this year's showing like an 8% increase. But the total is 3 when you take all the components together. But year over year on that consolidated general fund, it's an 8%. Okay, so the next 3 pages, because we like to do lots of charts and comparisons, the next 3 pages is another comparison. We got talking about that 2% limitation that the state is talking about for a change in a property tax reform. So pulled together a bunch of information, about what has that looked like for the city of Carroll over the past 10 years. So the first page on page 14, I looked at the consolidated general fund levy tax dollars and what percent change that was year over year, and you can see the line chart. When you average that out, it was an average of 1.94% increase over a 10-year period. 1.94% each year over a 10-year period. Yes, it goes up and down, that's why we did the average, to what did that look like over 10 years? So this page is just the consolidated general fund levy component over the overall levy. The next chart does that same comparison, but we looked at the total tax dollars without the debt service, so we're looking at those other components of the consolidated general fund, the tort liability, and the employee benefits. When you take all those together, what did that percent change look like over a 10-year period? And that averaged out to be 1.78% change over the 10 year, per year over 10 years. And then the final of these charts looked at the total tax dollars levied in percent change over that 10-year period. And that was a 1.94% per year increase over the 10-year period. Yes, it went up and down, but over 10 years, it was a 1.94% increase. Just
So-
more information.
Yeah, well, I actually asked Laura to do this a while back when I was working on something else, but one of the proposals that I've been talking about to the legislatures is give us a 10-year average. Don't penalize us or stop us at, 2%, because there's some things that we'd like to do to fix up our city or whatever things we want to do. So, give us a 10-year average so we can do some things once in a while. So, I was told that's got a little bit of attraction down at the state legislatures. We'll see.
The next comparison that we looked at, or that we use on pages 17 and 18, on page 17, it's the tax impact on a residential homeowner, and page 18 is the commercial property comparison. So what I did this year is looking, I did take into effect and factor in that there was a reassessment year, and that the assessors revalued all the homes. And when I talked to the assessor's office about how they come up with their number, it's all over the board on depending on where you live in the community. One part of the community maybe saw anywhere from a 15 to 20% increase, and another part of the community maybe only saw a 10% or less. So how does that impact? It just depends on where your home is. And so for this comparison purposes, we came up with that we felt like a good average across the community was a home went up on average 14.5%. So if your home went up, value went up 14.5%, applied the rollback and applied the proposed city rate, the actual amount that you would pay of city taxes is a little bit less than this current fiscal year. But if your home did go up higher than that 14.5%, you're likely, you might see an increase in your city portion of your taxes.
I see you got rid of the $100,000 home.
Yeah, we bumped up the values just a little bit and started with different homes assessed at either a $400,000 home, a $300,000 home, a $200,000 or $150,000 home.
I have to redo my calculations, because I based everything off 100,000.
Oh, I mean, yeah, you still can use that.
Take 200,000, cut it.
Well, not quite, but close. Yeah, you'd be close enough. Yeah.
Well, part of the thought process about doing some of this calculations, yeah, we know home values have gone up over the years. One of the proposals at the State House is looking at homes valued at $350,000 or less. And so that was just kind of a number we picked.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then if you look at the next page, it is the comparison of impact on a commercial property. Again, took into consideration that commercial values did increase because of the revaluation that the assessor went through this year, and was told that the average commercial value did increase, the approximate average was about 13%. So if your value went up 13% from the city, you're gonna potentially see from the city's portion based upon this levy proposed about a 4.5–5% increase.
Laura, is it safe to assume that the numbers that you have in this book are significantly less than what was originally proposed when you received everything from the department heads?
You're talking about expenditure request and project.
Basically, I'm assuming you guys have already looked at a bunch of things, that we're gonna wait and not do this, we're not gonna do this at all, and how much did you end up having to cut this year?
I don't know for sure what was cut. I would say the departments did a good job of really, what they proposed to the city manager first was, they've already went through and, prioritized what they felt were the items that definitely needed to be addressed this year versus, oh, this can wait till a future year.
But was it $1 million, or was it?
No, when I first started, with the first initial, sweep through, we were a few $100,000 short from the balanced general fund.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing you need to look at is go back to the city and then the preceding year, or go back to page 17.
Okay.
So like a $400,000 home, we're at minus 0.36% this year, but last year we're at 2.42. See that?
Yep, right here.
Yeah. So the homes went down, but now go to the next page, 18, and it's just the reverse. The commercial was down last year, but it's up this year, so it's
But
kind of,
she's using an average of 14% for this, on page 17, correct?
Yeah.
So you might be talking to somebody that their valuation went up 10%, but the next person might have went up 30,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But for this document, you used an average of 14.
Did Sarah give you any information about that? Like, what was the ceiling as far, was it 25, or did somebody see a 30%, or did she even say? Or?
No, I don't recall if we really got into that discussion on what the highest revaluation number was or percent was. I can't remember.
So what I'm getting at on page 18, if somebody talks, like, well, geez, our commercial property went up almost 5%, well, you can go back and say, well, the year before, it wasn't even a 1/4%, so divided by 2. That'll be a conversation you'll have. People will say, how come I went up 5%? Well, you had nothing last year, so.
It's kind of like going to the casino. You never talk about your losses, you only talk about your winnings.
Or don't go to the casino.
So yeah, we, again, under tab B, like to do lots of comparisons.
Yeah.
So that's what these 2 pages were. If there are no more questions, the next page is a chart that shows where all the revenue that the city brings in, what is it, what does it go towards? And so this breaks that down. On this proposed budget, fiscal 27, this pie chart shows where the different revenue streams are, or what they are, and basically what piece of the pie. So you can see debt proceeds. That's going to vary from budget year to budget year depending on if we issue debt or not. But otherwise, property taxes, those are fairly consistent from year to year, as well as charges for services. Those are your next 2 biggest pieces of the pie. This is just showing what are all the different components of the city's the city's revenue.
Got a question, your debt is $1.40 again this year.
For the levy component, yes.
Yes. Is this chart reflective of the $1.40?
Yes.
Okay, so the $9 million that we're talking about coming is not in this yet.
So the debt proceeds, the $1.40 is the taxes levied to cover your principal and interest payments. And that does include a debt service payment for these debt proceeds for the first year, yes.
But the $9 million that we're gonna have down the road.
That's this, yes,
Okay,
yes,
all right.
yes. The next chart takes a look at if your home was assessed at $200,000 and under this current fiscal year, your property taxes that you're paying, that you made a payment in September and you're gonna make a payment in March here in a couple months, where those tax dollars go, who gets your tax dollars. The county gets a portion, the school gets a portion, the city gets a portion, and very small portions go to DMAC and the AG extension. So this just is a picture to say, when I write out my property tax check, or the bank pays it for me, however you pay your property taxes, where does that money go?
has that stayed pretty consistent at that level for us?
Yeah, I believe so. The city's been, around that low 40s for a number of years.
Laura, you maybe don't know this, but like other communities that have a community college in them, like Indian Hills or Iowa Western or whatever, do they get assessed for those community colleges too? I guess I was never quite familiar how that worked as far
I'm
as,
gonna assume so as well, but I've never really dug into that.
okay.
The next two charts, more comparisons. This is a peer group comparison of the levies. On page 21, it's the consolidated levy and where Carroll falls according to our peer group. As you can see, Carroll does have the lowest consolidated levy of our peer group at the $27.65. All the way up to Keokuk has a consolidated levy of $54.16. The next page, on page 22, this is a comparison of the city's levy only, of your consolidated, the city only levy, and the city of Carroll. This is under this current fiscal year's operations, with the city being, Carroll being at 1216. You can see we're in the bottom part of all our other compare group.
So looking back at that comparison that you were mentioning about the 43.99%, that changes for a lot of these cities too. Keokuk, for example, a lot of theirs is city, for some reason, $26
Oh, sure, yep.
of 54, so that's far higher than what's,
Yep.
it wouldn't be actually.
Well,
It'd be about,
close
it'd be
to
a-
half.
It'd be close to half,
Yeah.
it's a little higher.
Yeah, so yeah, if you wanted to go through, you could do that calculation for all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
How can they, with the limitations that are in place, how can they get their levy that high? Do you know what I mean? If you got an 810 levy and if you've got maxes on your debt service levy.
Valuations could be really low.
So,
But then, again, you'd still have to levy this money somehow, so how do you generate it if those limitations are in place?
for that, and, so the 810 is limited, however, the other ones, are limited to the dollar amount that you,
Employee benefits and stuff?
right, yes.
So they probably levy the entire amount.
They could
You could have
very
a
well be,
huge debt
yes.
too.
And debt, yeah.
It's amazing when I see some of the debt some of these communities have. It's amazing.
We're one of the lowest in the state.
Yeah, and if
for
you
our-
told the
our
average
amount.
citizen here that we owed $9 million, they go, holy crap, that's a lot of money. And it's minuscule compared to most.
Mhm.
Okay, so then the next two charts is, a few years ago, we started doing this other comparison of looking at taking an average valued home in each one of these communities, applying their levies to determine what their property taxes were. I know, I'm trying to think how to explain.
As I say, you lost me already.
So,
Say that again.
first off, we used this livability.com website. On there, you can type in and search each one of these communities and come up with what they say is the average value of a home in that community. So once you get the average value of those homes in those communities, you apply their levy components. So page 23 uses the consolidated levy, page 24 uses the city levy only. And then you do this comparison of, if you have that average valued home, what in that community, what are you paying for taxes in that community? Because every community has maybe a slightly, as you can see from the blue bar on each of these pages, the median residential value varies greatly from one community to the next.
So what I do, let's just take Carroll, look at that on page 23, you take 2,187 and you divide by 177,000, that'll give you a factor number. You can take that factor number and go to another city and take that factor number times the blue bar, and then you'll see what Carroll's taxes would be if it was in that city. And the charts kind of show it, the more of a gap from the top of the blue to the top of the red, the more of that gap means less taxes per thousands. So look at far left, Keokuk. Their tax, we just showed that in the chart before.
So yeah, doing that comparison, just to piggyback on that conversation, Keokuk, so their average home value is $97,000, so that home is paying almost $2,100 in taxes, compared to in Carroll, your average home value is $177,000, so you're talking almost $80,000 more in a home value, paying roughly the same amount of taxes.
Right.
I just looked up one out of curiosity this weekend. It was $137,000 assessed value, and the taxes were $1,805. So, I mean, that's radically less than.
Yeah, this tries to give a better comparison, so you can try to compare those, make it more of an apple to apple. I know it's not apple to apple, more of an apple to apple comparison than an apple and oranges when you're talking about average home values, the values of the homes in these communities.
So the reason we brought this chart forward is, our tax levy rate in that is lower. And people say, well, you're not considering valuations. So then when I got our council, I asked to have this chart done, so that eliminates that argument.
So page 23 looks at the consolidated property levy applied to the average home value. Page 24 looks at the city-only component of the overall tax value, or tax levy. So the city-only levy on that average home value, and you can see how it changes, actually almost in every city's case, where the red bar does kind of grow a little bit more than, or it does grow from the consolidated to the city-only portion.
The percent that we pay to the city,
Yeah.
and that's consistent, it is.
Then the final page under this tab is, a look of over the last few years of the employee counts for the city. Full-time is at the top, and each department will maybe touch upon their employee numbers. But as you can see from our current operations to what's being requested for next year, 27, there is no requested change for any increase in full-time or part-time employees. That's tab B, the information, a lot of the introductory overview stuff of the budget.
Do you happen to have the numbers? I talked to Aaron the other day, and I had mentioned to him a month or so ago that in one of the interviews I was conducting for another city that was roughly our size, they had almost double what we had for employees. So he had done a survey of cities our size, and we were very, very favorable. Do you happen to know or have those numbers?
I believe he did request that information. I do not have it with me, but we can definitely bring that to the next.
We looked like really good in that respect.
Yep, I know he had a staff member call the cities to get their full-time counts,
Okay.
but I don't have it, yeah.
Yeah, I was shocked when I interviewed this person. They were like our size, and they had 130 or 140 employees, and we have 67.
Okay, so the other things that I just wanted to mention to kind of set up for our conversations for next week is tab C is what we call our capital requested items, some of the bigger purchases. Each department will go into more detail about what they have in their budget for their capital requests. So starting on page 27 is a more detailed look by department, by fund and by department. Then starting on page 31 is what we call our CIP, our capital improvement plan. So this does a 5-year outlook on projects that we foresee are in the horizon. And it also helps us plan out our debt repayment schedules and our debt issuances. The fiscal 27 column are projects that are incorporated into this fiscal 27 budget proposal. And then years 28 through 31 is that planning, used for planning purposes. More information will be discussed for sure on the 27 projects, and then if questions come up during discussions, a lot of these projects, as you will probably see here, a lot of these projects are in the public works area, so Randy will be able to talk to us about that next week. But to talk about these pages 31 through 36 are 3 different reports of the CIP showing the same information 3 different ways. Page 31 is our projects and funding sources by department. That's 2 pages, and then on page 33 is the projects, the expenditure side of the projects by department. And then starting on page 35, those same projects, but sorted by the funding source only, the funding source. So if you want to look at, well, what are we planning for? A good example is in the middle of that page on 35, the GO debt. What are we projecting or looking at for potential debt issuances in the next 5 years? The first column, 27, is the projects and for the debt issuance that's proposed in this budget and is incorporated in all this. Then it's a good tool, planning tool, and an outlook for when we structure our debt, when do we think we have more projects coming up?
Quick question, the airport hangar, is that our 10%?
And I have a question about that too, because it says.
390,000, is that our 10%?
Yes, yep, under
Okay.
local option sales tax, yes.
Okay.
Yes. It might be a little bit more than 10%, because it's all based upon the federal and state grants of the airport commission. The airport commission representative is planning to be here on Monday to talk in more detail about that project.
Okay.
Who is?
Airport.
Airport.
Okay. So, but the federal grant 817,000. This is just the funding sources.
Yeah, funding sources starting on page 35. Total project cost would be starting on 33.
Right.
A projection of a $1.6 million airport campus at this point.
Okay.
That was the latest information. I don't know if there's updated information.
Mhm.
This was from a few weeks ago.
Okay.
Laura, you don't happen to know how big that building is, do
I
you?
do not.
Okay.
And then the last area I was gonna touch upon is just to highlight tab D for the debt. We're pretty sneaky in that we, C is capital, D is debt. So
I like
under the debt, there's just 2 pages in here, starting on page 38 is the schedule of our principal and interest payments on the debt that is currently outstanding versus, the one that is proposed, number 5 for the proposed GO debt for 2026, and what those debt payments look like. And then at the very bottom of the chart, it's the dollar amount of the debt service supported by the annual debt service levy. And the debt is structured such that we are anticipating to keep the debt service levy at $1.40 up until, I believe, it's either fiscal 30 or 31. Probably up just for sure the next couple of years. So as you can see, even though there's quite a bit of debt numbers and payments, a lot of it on the bottom part of that chart is the other funding sources that help pay for the debt. It's not all debt service levy. And then the final page of this section on page 39 is, we do the calculation for the legal debt limit. There's a state code that says cities are not allowed to have any more debt outstanding than 5% of your assessed value. So we show you the debt that is outstanding in that particular fiscal year, run through that 5%, that debt limit calculation that shows based upon our current 1/1/25 assessed values of $1.2 billion, the city at the 5% could have almost $60.5 million of debt outstanding. However, even with the proposed debts in this budget, the debt outstanding would be 17 million in this fiscal year. So there's plenty of capacity.
Who determines that capacity?
The state code. The 5% is from the state code.
And that's 5% of our total
Assessed value.
assessed value, not taxable, but assessed.
Assessed.
So you're not allowed to exceed that.
You're not allowed to exceed that 5%, yes. Yep. So those were the items that I wanted to kind of go over, maybe a little bit longer than I thought, but wanted to get you some background information, some introductory stuff for you to start thinking about the budget, and we will plan on starting discussions next Monday at 5:15 here.
All right, thanks for doing that. Thank you for all the comments. I have no comments other than we all wish Aaron a quick recovery, and I think he's hoping to be back on Thursday, is that correct?
Wednesday or Thursday.
Wednesday or Thursday, so
Yep.
we'll look forward to that. He's still in touch with us, I guess.
I say, knowing him, I'm sure he's watching. Hi, Aaron.
Aaron, do you have any comments?
That call in.
All right, and then, anyone from the council, have any comments? I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Jeff, and then a second. Deb? Roll call, please.
Seaman,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Coster, Dirt.
Yes.
We are adjourned.